This is a Dreamcast disc and is for use only on a Dreamcast unit. Playing this disc on a hi-fi or other audio equipment can cause serious damage to its speakers.
Dreamcast, up to 6 billion players.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
Why don't we play together?
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Dreamcast Junkyard DreamPod. I'm your host Rob, and here today with me we have a mighty fine bunch of gents to talk about all things Dreamcast. A group which includes Aaron, the Gaga Man.
Hello.
Gaz, aka Lost Ruin.
Good afternoon, folks.
Xander, aka B-Sharp Major General.
Hello.
Caleb.
Hello.
And finally, Tom.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening, gentlemen. Hello to wherever you are. This is episode 9 of the DreamPod. Today we've got a really good show, but we're going to start, as ever, with what we've been playing. So, let's start with Aaron. What have you been playing, Aaron?
I've actually been playing a few Dreamcast games in the week. One of them was a game I picked in Florida late last year, which I haven't got around to playing until now. It was Miss Pac-Man Maze Madness. Bit of a mouthful, that title. It's actually not too bad. I actually quite enjoyed it because I've been kind of in a bit of a Pac-Man obsession lately, like the original Pac-Man on like my Game Boy Advance and stuff. And I thought, I better get around to playing this. And it does actually play like, for the most part, a traditional Pac-Man game where you're just going around getting dots and stuff. But they've sort of expanded it into having key puzzles, and there's all different kinds of enemies you can eat, and springs going to different platforms and all this kind of stuff. They've basically just taken the Pac-Man gameplay and added some platforming elements to it, and it's actually quite a neat little game. And it also has all these multiplayer modes which are really strange and not very good, and it's actually got the original Miss Pac-Man on there as well, which is nice.
Yeah, I think I don't know, I'm not a massive Pac-Man fan myself, but Miss Pac-Man seems to always be mentioned as one of the better.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that one in particular that makes it better than the others. I think it's something to do with like the levels are more varied and there's more ways to get more points and all that kind of stuff.
I think I think the ghosts are faster, and people that consider themselves really good at the game, it's actually a little bit
tougher.
Might
be something to do with that.
A bit tougher. I mean, the original game was hard as nails anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, this Dreamcast game is actually it's really easy because it's like they've made it for as like a kids platformer kind of thing, so it's a lot easier. The ghosts don't follow you the same way they do in the original game, where they have specific patterns and chase you around. They just sort of wander back and forth and just let you eat them, basically. So yeah, it's a bit easy, but other than that, it's quite enjoyable in the same way like Frogger 2 was. You know, it's really easy. You could just breeze through it, but it's still, kind of just nice to sit back and play, really. So that's pretty cool. The other game I've been playing, again, to see if I can even make heads or tails of it, is this Japanese game I've had for years. I think I got it on auction for like the starting price of like a penny, and then whatever the postage was. Some game called Cyber Teaming at Arbor Patter Pies. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. On the side of the spine, it just has a load of stuff in Japanese, and then in English, pies. So I just call it Pies. It's the Pies video game, and it's based on an anime that I don't think anyone's even heard of, because I've never heard of it, and I don't think it was popular or anything. And you basically get these chow-like yellow creatures with massive eyes. You raise one and you name it. I think I named my one Junkyard, years back, and I still had the save file. And you basically pit them against other yellow creatures, patter pies, or whatever they're called, and you make them play games with each other. In fact, the first game they play is they actually get out little FMUs, plug them together, and start like playing that. And all it really is you just like press all these arrows that come up on the screen, kind of like a DDR command, and then you just have to time a button press with like this little box and like a line flies across. You basically have to hit right in dead center, and it's really hard to time. And if you get that right, they successfully play with each other, and then you win. And then you just move on to the next character's patter pie and basically do the same thing, but they play different games, like drawing on a blackboard warlord and stuff. I don't know. It makes no sense. I think I've finally figured out how you play it, but there isn't really much to it. I think it also has like a FMU mini game for it, which I might try out, but apparently, judging from the manual, it's mostly text-based, so it's probably not very playable. So, yeah, there was that. Yeah, I've had this game for years. For some reason, because there's no like translation guides for it or anything, so no one knows anything about it. And so I'm determined to figure out what the hell this is, because like the graphics are really nice in it, and it's got a nice like look to it, and really quite funky music in it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just extremely basic and actually kind of annoying to like get the timing down with that line hitting the center of the sort of like, not like a rhythm, but you just have to like hit it at the exact point in the middle. And that's kind of it, I think. I think you level up your Patapie and then you can go against higher ranked ones. I don't know. It's weird.
Amazing.
So, yeah. And the other game I've mainly been playing on a Dreamcast was Virtua Tennis with a fishing controller, because that's fun.
Oh, yeah.
The motion controls. So
the only way to play.
Oh, definitely. I actually find that more fun than like Wii Tennis. Like Wii Tennis was it was good, but it was really simple, and you could easily just sort of flick your wrist, and that would do the same as actually going for it. But Virtua Tennis, you actually have to really swing it. Like, what's really odd about that as well is only the unofficial fishing controller actually works with that game properly. If you use the official one, it only lobs. For some reason, no matter what you do, half the time your character just lobs the ball, and then you obviously get beaten.
Aaron, is this why you were asking for a fission controller on the Facebook group?
Yes.
I did wonder.
I want to get a second one for 2-player co-op.
Doubles.
That's what it is. Yeah. Well, we want to do doubles with that. So yeah. So for some reason it only works with the first Virtua Tennis as well. I tried it with the second one, and it's just nothing. It just doesn't work. It's really weird. It's like they intentionally added it to the first one and then didn't bother on the second one or something. I don't know. It's very odd. It's the same with Space Channel 5. You can play the original one on a dance mat, but not the part 2. I don't know. It's odd. And both those games, they feel like they were supposed to be that way in some kind of way. Like Space Channel 5 with a dance mat's actually really good.
Well, it's a rhythm kind of dancing game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically like rhythm-based Simon Says. You know, she does the commands and then you have to do them in the same timing. But when you play it with a dance mat, it just feels like it's a whole new game.
A bit more fun, yeah.
Yeah, it almost feels like it could have been in the arcades like that with a dance mat, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, that's all the Dreamcast stuff I've been playing. Other than that, I've mainly been playing Sonic Runners on my phone, which is like a new free-to-play Sonic platformer they've put out. It's a pretty good game, but as usual, you get all the crap that you always get with mobile phones, like constant adverts. It crashes a lot. End up like it just resets itself in the middle of an advert, and you get all the usual. You got to get people to like play the game on Facebook to unlock a character, and all this kind of like, oh, you've run out of life, you have to wait half hour per life to play it again, or spend money. And it's just got all that kind of annoying mobile junk in it, which is really annoying. Yeah, other than that, there is actually a good Sonic game buried under all that somewhere. You know, it's an actual 2D platformer where it's kind of like the old ones. It's obviously you haven't got much control. It's just a single button jump game where you just jump and time stuff. But it's got that thing where the higher routes are more rewarding but harder to stay on, and the bottom routes are more deadly and a bit of a pain in the arse. You know, it's got that same thing that the Mega Drive games had, where you want to be on the higher route. You have to sort of keep that momentum of stuff going, so it's good. But yeah, it's got all the usual junk you get with free-to-play games.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that free-to-play should die horribly.
Yeah, I would rather pay money for this game if it got rid of all the adverts and all the that kind of junk, because like when you die the first time, it goes, oh, you can watch an advert to gain another life on it. But then sometimes when you play the advert, the game crashes, so you've just lost your progress. It's like, that's great. And then when you finish the level, it plays another advert, and then after that, you'll be lucky if it actually on my phone, I'll be lucky if it actually continues to let me play it after that. It'll probably crash again.
Awesome. Okay. Let's move on. Okay, Tom, what have you been playing this week?
Oh, cool. Off the Dreamcast, I've just been sticking with Far Cry 4 on the PS4. But on the Dreamcast, last night or yesterday. Well, this is Sunday now, but Saturday, I hosted a barbecue at my house. A few people came over, and it was a perfect time to get the Dreamcast out and have 4-player. So we played.
I saw your tweets about it. Didn't you say it was obligatory Power Stone?
Well, we didn't actually play Power Stone.
Oh, okay.
Because
I remember you be saying Power Stone was a must or something.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking that I didn't think people would get it. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of guys who are around they're not gamers, as such.
Okay, yeah.
So I put Looney Tunes Space Race on, which went down a storm.
Really? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and V-Valley 2 even, that went down quite well. Soul Calibur, a hit.
That always goes down well with pretty much anyone, Soul Calibur.
Yeah, and also Choo Choo Rocket, which initially confused the hell out of everybody because I had to explain it, and everyone was just looking at me like, eh? And then as soon as the game started and a couple of rounds had gone past, everyone was really into it, and then it just became like, it was just mayhem.
Fantastic.
It was so much fun. Initially everyone was saying, let's play Mario Kart 64, but I couldn't get the N64 to work on the big plasma screen because obviously issues with the N64 and flat screens. So then we moved, to the second choice, which was the Dreamcast. And
you should have said, I've got a better alternative to Mario Kart 64. I've got Walt Disney World Magical Racing Tour.
Well, we did play that. We played one race and everyone decided it was rich, so we turned that off. And also Wacky Races, which is pretty good in multiplayer as well. Last night, yesterday, played those lot. And then one of my friends came over earlier on today and we played a hell of a lot of Crazy Taxi. The crazy box, trying to beat each other in the crazy jump or whatever it's called, the ski jump thing.
Yeah. That's good.
So that's pretty much all I've been playing, really. Just a bit of a flurry in the weekend.
Awesome. Caleb, what about you?
Well, for the Dreamcast, I have been trying to get some cheaper games off eBay, and I got a copy of Guilty Gear X.
Yay!
Oh, nice.
With the best. I mean, it's amazing too. All these Japanese releases for fighting games, everything's in English.
Yeah,
I don't see the difference.
Yeah.
I don't see the difference between the English release and the Japanese release.
Usually,
so
it's just the dialogue
I feel like
in the stories, I think.
Well, yeah, perhaps. I haven't beat it or anything yet, but it's just amazing. I'm probably going to use it just for like tournaments and stuff like that. But it's great. I mean, it's got it's got the best named fighting character of all time, Soul Bad Guy.
I knew that was who you were going to mention.
Bad Guy. Such a great name. That's inspired.
Name.
Heaven or hell, duel. It's just it's great. I love it. I got it for an amazing price, and I've been messing around with that. And did you
get the little mini CD shaped CD with it?
I'm afraid to use it in anything, but it's like that weird time when they were like making these weird little mini CDs that have like bites taking out of them and stuff like that. This one's like shaped weird. And it's
shaped like the characters, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It's interesting. So it's not the full version. All I got was like it loose, but I have the manual. I got the little disc, and I have the disc, so I put it in a new case, and so it's awesome. And I got that for a song, and I also got another game that's going to be coming in soon is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh, fantastic!
Which, yeah, and again, I just, I guess you just have to, you just have to look every once in a while, and hopefully you'll get lucky on eBay with stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Quite a few of the Capcom fighters are actually really cheap to get. Even like Capcom vs. SNK 2 is actually quite reasonable now, so that's well worth grabbing.
And so I've been playing that, and outside of fighting games on the Dreamcast, I played Don't Starve Together Beta, which is an amazing game. I played with a guy from Finland.
Oh, wow.
And we managed to get through winter together. So that's a fun game as well.
I'm guessing that is, just from the name alone, is a sequel to Don't Starve, yeah?
It's basically the multiplayer version of Don't Starve.
Okay.
So Don't Starve Together, you just play with other people and try to survive.
Makes sense, yeah. Cool.
Okay, staying in America, Xander, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I was going to be strong. I was going to get a new game for the Dreamcast at my friend's store, but I got Half-Life 2 instead. So I've been playing that.
I don't think you should ever apologise for playing Half-Life 2. But did you pick it up on PC?
No, I got it for Xbox.
Oh, okay.
Oh, was it the orange box?
No,
the original Xbox.
Oh, cool.
It's actually a really good version. That I've at one point I had the orange box and the original Xbox version, and I was going through a stage of comparing the two. I mean, the original Xbox version doesn't look as good as the orange box version, obviously, as you would imagine, but it's pretty damn close, and it's a really good port for the original Xbox.
I wasn't even aware it was on the original Xbox.
Yeah, I've got it myself. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Okay, and bringing up the rear, Gaz, what have you been playing?
Well, steady on. Well, while I was digging around for the fishing rod for Aaron, I found my big box of Dreamcast games, and I thought I'd try out a few games that I bought, tried once, and then threw them back in the box. So I had to go. I picked up Coaster Works again. Put that in. Yeah. It's no theme park because all you have to do is try and build roller coasters. But I mean, it's technical in the way that you have to. You got to be careful about your angles of your loops and things like that, because otherwise you won't get up an incline and things like that. So I mean, it's technical in that way. But other than that, it's quite boring, really. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's not the best game ever, is it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And it's really particular about how you build them as well. So it takes quite a while. It's almost like a puzzle game. You have to get it exact, otherwise they moan at you. And
if your incline's not long enough, and then you make a really big incline for the second one, then you're not going to get up there, and it's tedious at best.
Yeah.
It's tedious at best. So, other than that, I put in Giant Killers as well, which is a football manager game. I was a huge Football Manager player on the PC. This isn't close to it, but it's not bad nonetheless. And that's pretty much it for the Dreamcast.
I always found the name to that really bizarre. Why is it called Giant Killers?
Well, Giant Killers is a reference, particularly in the FA Cup, when like a lower league team beats a team from the higher division. It's called a Giant Killer.
Oh, I see.
Called a Giant Killer.
That's a pretty niche thing to give it a title for. A lot of people probably won't get it.
Unless you're into football, it's a reference.
Really,
I mean, Giant.
It's quite a niche thing.
I mean, it was only ever released in the UK as well, so I mean, I think the name is a reference to like British.
Yeah, it's a very rare game. So, but that came in a bundle. I got it in a bundle. I won an eBay auction, and that came with it, and it cost me £5, and I had to collect it. So I was quite impressed with that, yeah. But other than that, ages ago, I went to a local game shop and they had a fast lap competition to win a copy of Project Cars on either Xbox One or PS4, and I won it. But the game's rubbish. I mean, it looks beautiful, but it controls, compared to a game like Forza or the other game I've been playing, which is The Crew. It's doesn't really stand up. I mean, on the back of the box, Eurogamer said, "Oh, this game is better than Forza 4 or Gran Turismo," and no, it's not. I want to know how much they paid Eurogamer to say that. To be fair,
allegedly.
Well, yeah.
That's a pity, because I actually thought that looked, from what I saw, it looked all right. But then, of course, I haven't played it, so I can't say.
Don't get me wrong; it's not a bad game, but it's no Forza.
Speaking of driving games, while we were just talking, I had 2 messages through on my phone that I've purchased things on Drive Club, and then I just remembered that my friend who I was playing Crazy Taxi with earlier on, he's still in my house downstairs on my PS4, and he's actually been buying things on Drive Club, and now I'm being notified about it, and I need to just send him a text to tell him to stop buying things on Drive Club.
Does he realise it's actual currency? Or...
I'm getting a bit worried because he's bought two cars.
I presume it's just £5 digital.
Yeah, he's bought 2 car packs on Drive Club. Wait a minute, I'm just going to send him a text. Sorry, Rob.
Nice.
Rob? What have you been playing?
Dear.
Nice.
I got to be honest, I'm just still completely enslaved to Shikigami no Shiro 2. That's all I've played on the Dreamcast. It's so deep. I'm trying to get over its mechanics. Each character, there's multiple iterations of each character, and there's like 6 or 7 characters, and it basically changes the sort of secondary attack of most of them. Each of them has a different primary attack, and then you can switch between the 2 versions to alter their secondary attack, and it gives it lots of variety about how you can play the game. Like one of the characters that I'm playing with has the ability to throw out a temporary shield in front of them, which absorbs all bullets coming towards you, and timing the use of that so you can sort of I don't know what you do. You sort of like cruise up through the screen and sort of clear a path like a snowplow would. You clear a path through the bullets, and then you can move backwards into the free space that you've just freed, and it's sort of a good way to get score. So yeah, that was great. And the only other pickup, it's not Dreamcast related, but it is Sega related. I got an Action Replay Plus for the Saturn. It's
fantastic.
Yeah, it's the 4 meg auto.
Is that the cart that fits in the slot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the 4-in-1. It's obviously it's like the RAM pack, the memory pack, the Action Replay, and like the region unlock. Now I'd got
the full works.
Yeah, the full works. I'd got one of the Pro Universal adapters which did the region unlocking, but I hadn't got. I suddenly realised that I wanted to get more into the Japanese Saturn library because I've been pretty vocal in the past about sticking it to the Saturn, and I think that I probably have a better opinion of it if I played more Jap exclusives on the Saturn.
So, definitely.
Yeah. I've got a Japanese Saturn, and it's
Japanese.
I mean, compared to the PAL market, the Japanese market's fantastic. I've been playing Twinbee on that. That's such a great game. It's such a fantastic shooter.
I love that. Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, superb.
Rob, I'm really looking forward to your review of this shoot 'em up.
Yeah, I am actually working. A review's going to be on the yard probably within the next week.
Brilliant.
May either this week or really early doors next week, and I'm going to try and get some video in there as well. So look forward to that.
Excellent.
Okay, right, guys, we've spent far too long talking about the games we've played, but I suppose that's okay. Let's move on, though.
There are more of us, yeah.
There's more of us here today. It's a big pod, but we'll move on now. Very briefly, I just want to keep this brief, guys, because it's not really Dreamcast related, but as we all have probably heard, everyone's heard, including Tom's mother.
Yeah, she sent me a message on Facebook, yeah. I don't actually speak to her very often, and she sent me a message about that, or this thing.
Yeah.
So, carry on, sorry.
And that thing, of course, is the SNES CD, the PlayStation prototype that just appeared on Reddit this week and has been making like huge news both in the gaming press and outside of the gaming press. So, gentlemen, very quickly, what are your thoughts on it? Let's start with Caleb.
It's got S-Video out, which is interesting. I don't know. I'm not surprised. I mean, when they do projects like this, there's lots of hardware prototypes that they come up with. I'm really surprised that it appears to be in working condition and stuff like that. I don't know why it's been kind of just sitting around for so long, but it's an interesting piece of gaming history, that's for sure.
It is. Guys, come on, who else about you thought when you looked at it for the first time, did you think it was real or do you think it was fake?
Well, we all know, I think, that Sony were working with Nintendo to build a CD drive for the what was it, the SNES, wasn't it? Yeah, so I mean, there's no surprise that it's actually out there. So
yeah, there were pictures of this system on the internet a long time ago, but people just assumed it was I think people just assumed it was a mock-up or just like an artist impression. But yeah, it turns out it even had like all to make it look even more legit. It's got all that horrible SNES yellow in.
Yeah.
I think I could be wrong here, but I seem to recall there's quite a bit of information on this relationship in a book from 1994 called Game Over. I'm not sure who I can remember reading it when I was very young, and I can't remember who the author is, but it charts the relationship of like Nintendo's rise to power, but it also gives information on that Nintendo-Sony collaboration before the PlayStation and before the SNES happened.
I've also read today another forum. I can't for the life of me remember which one it was, but apparently some really hardcore like Nintendo and PlayStation fans have been doing a lot of research into this to see if it is actually legit.
Yeah.
And it apparently all checks out. The guy's dad has been looked into, who he worked for, which companies was he involved with, and apparently all checks out.
That did make the story sound really fake, didn't it? Like, my dad worked for Sony, or my dad worked for some company. It made it sound like the most typical, fake story you'd find on the internet, but...
We move in circles where there are a lot of people who have got a lot of spare time on their hands, and they can devote this spare time to looking into people's, histories, and apparently this guy checks out, and apparently this thing is completely legitimate, so... It's cool.
Okay, so my last question then, and this brings it back to the Dreamcast and back to Sega, is if Sony and Nintendo hadn't fallen out and this system had come to market, would it have had, do you think, any effect on on Sega and the Sega Dreamcast?
Yeah, massively. I don't think the Mega CD would have existed as it did. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or at least it would have put out a CD and Mega Drive system all in one that wasn't the multi-mega. Do you know what I mean? Something else, maybe.
Possibly. Yeah, it depends when this was due out. I seem to remember hearing it was going to be after the Mega CD, but I'm not entirely sure.
But think about RPGs. All the good, like all the Square RPGs, they would have been there. Like,
yeah, with like CD audio and stuff, and more space.
That's a good point. Yeah, we would have had massive SNES RPGs on CDs. That's a very good point. Yeah.
And of course, Final Fantasy VII would have been technically on a Nintendo system, and it would have gone that way.
I think if this thing had actually come to market, then it could have changed the entire gaming landscape. Because if you look at it like this, the SNES continued to be supported for such a long time. Like, you know, even when I can remember when I had a Saturn, I was still reading SNES reviews in like Games Master. Like FIFA 97 came out on the SNES. Like, if this thing had come out, then Nintendo would have...
Some of the last games on the SNES in Japan were in, like, 2001 or something.
Yeah, it would have extended the lifespan of the SNES, like, sort of, by quite a long way. And, you know, other systems may not have come out. PlayStation obviously wouldn't have done. So we'd be playing completely different systems now.
That would have it would have changed so much as well, because without the PlayStation, things would be completely different. I don't think we would even have Xbox or... You know, Nintendo's lineup would be completely different. Everything would be different without the PlayStation coming along. And it's only because of that rejection from Nintendo that Sony went, right, let's just do it all ourselves and just take over. You know.
Okay, so moving on. Back strictly into Dreamcast territory. We want to do a quick plug here for a cracking interview that we've just had this week put up on the Dreamcast Junkyard. It's with Coraline Annis of Isotope SoftWorks. They're the team behind Slave and Hypertension. We spoke about these recently on the pod. Basically, check out that interview. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I'd like to say as well, I'd like to say thank you very much to Coraline as well, just for the amount of depth that she went into with not just about gaming, but also like her personal life and deep sort of subjects like things like depression and game development and how they like affected the development of the game, because it's been such a long time coming. It's such a fantastic interview. Yeah, it was really like thought-provoking. And
wow, I believe they're porting Slave, aren't they? They're not actually. I think they're porting it from the PC version to the same engine as Hypertension. I believe.
I'm not entirely sure about that
because the creator of Slave is a guy called Jade Townsend. I think his name is.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's what I heard. Like, he developed the game on the PC and then they're porting it over to the Dreamcast.
The biggest news, not news, but the biggest thing that they kind of really wanted to push about this is that there's a new forum that's opened for both Slave and Hypertension, and they are taking pre-orders now for the game. So be sure to check those out.
Yeah, both of those look really good. And as Tom said, like, it's really nice to get a sort of behind-the-scenes sort of shot into what it's actually like to make even an indie game, you know, because often personally, I often feel that, you know, specifically with big games, you just get this PR sort of shiny front and you have no idea like what it's like to work on something for day after day, month after month, year after year. Because I think in the interview, she mentions that it's been 7 years. On
it's like, this is almost like the Duke Nukem Forever of the Dreamcast. You know?
Yeah,
it's been such a long time. It's gone through so many different iterations. The game, if you look at the blog that the developers have got going, you can see early screenshots of how it's gone from different stages of development, and it looks completely different to how it originally looked up until the product that we've got now.
I do remember actually maybe blogging about it on the Dreamcast Junkyard years ago, back when they first mentioned it. Yeah,
check it out on the yard. Talking of checking it out, we're now going to check out some Dreamcast hardware. We want to talk about the Dreamcast Karaoke Unit, which is something that, while he doesn't have it right now, he's just picked up. Tom has just picked one up. So, Tom, you can start talking.
Yeah. And the Dreamcast Karaoke Unit is something that I've been after for maybe 2 years. Something like that. Ever since I first saw it, I thought I need one of those. And it's just because it looks so cool. It looks a bit like an N64DD. It kind of sits underneath the Dreamcast and adds quite a bit of bulk to the system. And it basically connects where the modem would go. So you slot your modem off, put the Dreamcast Karaoke Unit underneath the Dreamcast, slot it into where the modem would go, and then the modem actually goes onto the bottom of the Karaoke Unit. Now, the unit was launched in Japan. I think it's called the Dream Kara. And what would happen? I mean, obviously, there's a very big stereotype about Japanese people that love karaoke, and whether or not that's true, I don't know. Personally, I've never seen a Japanese businessman singing karaoke. It might exist, but I'm not going to say either way. So this thing was released in Japan, and what you were meant to do is put it onto the bottom of your Dreamcast, plug the modem in, and then connect to the online service where you could download new songs for your karaoke unit, and the words would come up on the screen and you could sing along. And it was predominantly an online service. This piece of hardware was designed connected to an online server. Those servers don't exist anymore, and also it was Japan only, so there's no point of trying to connect it here in the UK. But it looks like a really nice piece of kit and very aesthetically pleasing to me, at least. Yeah, so it's just something that's really intrigued me. It's more of a curio than anything. It's definitely something for the collector. When they do come up on eBay in the UK, they're usually quite expensive for reasons that are unknown to me. And it's just because they're useless. And I was speaking to the guy who runs Dreamcast Gaga, the website. He actually lives in Japan. And he was telling me that the Dreamcast Karaoke Unit is like 10 a penny in Japan. You see them in bargain buckets, and because they're useless, they're just things that you see all the time in like trade-in shops and hardware shops, because you can't do anything with them. But because in the UK it was never released, and likewise in the US, it's something of a curiosity. And so, I will be taking it with us to play Manchester, and letting people see one of these things in the flesh. One of the nice things about the karaoke unit is that you get a microphone with it that's actually Dreamcast branded, which is it's like a proper microphone that you hold in your hand.
Huh. Does it plug into the controller in any way, like one of them little memory card things, like the traditional microphone for the the old microphone for the Dreamcast, or is it like
it does, yeah. So the way it looks is that it actually looks quite similar to the Dreamcast itself, as an extension underneath. You've got these two volume buttons, and then you've got two 3.5mm jacks that you just plug the microphones into, so you can have two people singing potentially at the same time. And
right. I was only thinking that because it would be really cool if it worked with a game like Seaman.
So I mean, I don't have it yet. It's still in the post, but I got it from a UK seller, and it was quite reasonable. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to it arriving, and I'm sure I'll be putting pictures up on the Facebook page and writing an article about it as soon as it arrives. Yeah.
I really have to ask a quick question. So I did a little bit of research when you started discussing this on Facebook. Does anybody know if the songs on the CD can still be played?
Yes. The songs that come on the CD are very few. I think there may be like 3 to 5 songs, but they are Japanese pop songs, I believe.
Well, we definitely want a video of you singing, Rob.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's good then. So you can actually play it to some extent.
I'll definitely indulge your curiosity by singing at the camera with a Dreamcast Karaoke.
Lovely.
Awesome.
Caleb, this is going to be for you.
Thank
personally.
You.
Yeah, because I thought it was to the point where you can even run it, like... It's good to hear that there's actually something on the disc that you can actually play.
Well, I've heard it both ways, like from a couple different people that no, you can't even use the ones on the disc because it requires. So it'll be interesting when Tom gets the unit if he can try to set it up and see if he can get into the songs that are actually on the disc or not.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'll definitely give it a go. Likewise, Caleb, I've heard the same thing. I've heard that it does nothing. But then other people have said that yes, you can use the songs on the disc. But yeah, I will do a full investigation when it arrives. One other interesting thing that I read on another forum, again, the name of which escapes me, is that somebody was trying to do a homebrew project whereby they were trying to use or hack the software where you could get, you can buy karaoke CDs for karaoke machines to actually run on the Dreamcast. Because apparently, at the very base level, the software is quite similar. I'm by no means a programmer, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm saying is actually right. But somebody was saying that this could theoretically be possible. So
I wonder if the Dreamcast is compatible with CDNG discs, as in the ones that adds the karaoke lyrics, because there was a karaoke add-on for the Mega CD, and you could just put in any karaoke CD and it just works.
Oh, really?
But,
I know the Sega Saturn is compatible with CD&G.
Yeah,
so
I believe
maybe.
So.
I don't
and
know.
there was a variant of the Sega Saturn called the High Saturn. It was a giant square Hitachi built Saturn.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah, I know
had
what you're saying.
that had all karaoke features on it as well. That had the jacks in and all that kind of stuff, and that could also use just any karaoke CD. So it's a shame that the Dreamcast one doesn't really, as far as I know.
Well, as soon as it arrives, I will be doing a post. Yeah, and I'll investigate further, see what the crack is.
Okay, moving on. We're now going to move into emails, or specifically one email that we've recently received at the yard. I'm going to stick with Tom with this. Tom, do you want to introduce what this was about?
Yeah, basically, yesterday I had an email out of the blue from somebody who basically explained that they're looking for 2D artists because they're working on a new, as yet unnamed Dreamcast project. This is basically like news that is like at the cutting edge, basically, because nobody else knows about this. Yeah, his name is. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this because I'm not sure whereabouts in Europe he's from. I'm guessing he's from Europe, but his name is Smadja Locus, and like I say, he is looking for somebody to help him with a project on the Dreamcast, 2D character animation and pixel art. From that alone, I'm guessing it's going to be some kind of 2D game. I don't know. But yeah, he just sent me an email out of the blue asking if I knew anyone who could help. And so this is really a call to arms, really, for the Dreamcast community. If anyone's interested in working on a new Dreamcast game, 2D Dreamcast game, then send us an email. It's admin@thedreamcastjunkyard.co.uk.
Okay, let's move on then, guys.
As if you were listening last week, you would have found that we had a winner to the first part of the competition. It was fantastic. Thanks for your entries. But if you go on the Dreamcast Junkyard, folks, part 2 is up, and it's basically name the game. There's 25 screenshots, snippets of screenshots, not the whole screen, just a snippet of the screen, and then you just got to email with the competition answers, and you can win another one of the fantastic LPs. So get your entries in and go and have a play. Yeah.
I will say that I will give a warning that the screens are very
vague.
They're not for obscure games, but the way that I've cropped them make them look a bit dodge.
I think a couple were a bit obscure. Yeah. There were a couple I didn't have a clue what they were myself. So
this is definitely a contest of skill, and I'm going to be very interested to find out if there's anybody out there who reads our blog who will be able to get every one of them. I'm betting that we will. I don't think anybody will be able to get every one of them. I'll be really surprised.
Tell you what, if somebody gets every single one of these, I will chuck in a bonus prize of a brand new copy of Planet Ring, including the microphone.
I have 20 of them sitting here, all sealed.
Yeah, I'll chuck it in.
What I will say is that if it does prove to be too hard and people don't get them all, then the person who submits the answer with the most correct answers will win. And if if people get the same, and we'll draw one at random. I will also say that I do keep an eye on the traffic on the junkyard and stuff, and referrals and things. And somebody has put somebody's put some of the harder ones up on a forum asking for help. So,
oh, cheaters!
I mean, I'm not really, I'm not going to disqualify anybody. I just think it's great that people are they're that, confused by what the games are. They're asking for help on forums. It's brilliant.
Okay, moving on. We are now going to fall into our retro review section, which you're probably familiar with by now. On launch, IGN gave Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 9.1 out of 10, stating, Legacy of Kain takes everything that makes the horror genre compelling and improves on it in nearly every way. Gentlemen, were IGN right, or were they smoking something dubious? Go.
Yes. To the second one?
They were smoking something dubious.
Oh,
okay. What was it?
I disagree. No, guys, I think you're wrong.
No, but I'm quite bad because I don't like hack and slash games at the best of times. So I'm probably going to be.
Well, it's not really a hack and slash game. It's more of a puzzle game, if nothing else. It's basically the combat's rudimentary.
Weirdly, the game I would compare it to the most is not a Dreamcast game. I would compare it to the Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. The dungeons, because there's a lot of puzzles. You also get a lock on where you lock onto enemies and fight against them. I think it's a fantastic game compared to the PS1 original. the upgrade is just phenomenal, and it was a real.
It's one of the. I
real
always thought
showcase
it
of
was
the
one
Dreamcast.
of the better. Yeah, I always thought it was one of the better like PS1 ports because a lot of them just pretty much just looked like a slightly higher resolution of a PS1 game, but this one actually kind of did look like a Dreamcast game to some extent. Had some really nice like lighting effects, and I always liked how his health is actually kind of looks like a Dreamcast spiral.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the way that when he goes from like the real world of Nosgoth to the to the Nether realm, and like the whole of all the architecture kind of warps and changes. I used to just go back and forward between the two, just watching the cathedrals and the caves and the cities that you were in, just like warp back and forward, because I thought it was really impressive use of like the geo-modding engine that they employed within that game. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean that's only looking at the graphical side of things.
Yeah.
But I think even from a gameplay, like as an adventure, I love the setting. I love the setting. I love the sort of the neoclassical architecture of the world and the gothic overtones. I really love it, and it's unique on the Dreamcast just because of that. I think the graphical.
Yeah, there's a few other games kind of like it, but they're not as good. Stuff like Shadow Man and much worse, like Nightmare Creatures 2. They all had the kind of similar sort of theme going for them, but yeah, they were.
I mean, in terms of like a third person adventure puzzle type game, you're talking around that time, your Tomb Raider kind of thing, aren't you? I mean, that was up there as being like one of the pinnacles of that genre. I mean, but is this game a 91%er?
I'm not sure. Like, I agree with everything Tom says about the aesthetics. I love the aesthetics, and I think the graphics at the time were amazing. I think the art style is really, really cool. I really love Shadow Man, and I think just from an art style point of view, it's good. But I'm not sure. Like, playing the game, I always felt the mechanics were a little loose. Like, you mentioned Ocarina of Time, and I know exactly what you mean with the dungeon structure and with the lock-on, but nothing was as tight as Ocarina of Time. I don't know, the combat, it is a bit hack and slash, but it's not very satisfying. I don't know, maybe it was just me. Maybe I was being too picky coming off Ocarina of Time. It's just, I always felt it was a bit sort of soft.
On the subject of the puzzle, a lot of them are about moving like blocks around and like pushing them into the right holes to make a door open or something. I think the reason it made such an impact on me was the gothic style and the way that like a lot of the baddies have got like these really grandiose biblical names. I just thought it was something completely new in games that I'd never seen before. It was very much an adult, even though it's brightly coloured and it had a very adult overtone to it all, especially with the narration and things.
Well, it was a 15+ game, wasn't it? It was kind of thrown at like a more adult audience anyway. So it
was just a feeling of bleakness about the landscape. You were in this world that was decimated by forces unknown and powers that were out of your control, and you were just cast into this world and sort of get on with it. I always thought the narrator spoke a bit like Christopher Lee as well, which kind of made it quite cool.
Okay, so if I was to ask you, like each of you, and you may not all have played it, but if you have played it, like, what would you give it now, right now?
I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I would have thought it's good, it's solid enough, but I don't think it's a 9.
Okay, next.
I'd maybe say between a 7 and an 8 because I haven't really played it a lot. But from what I did play, I thought it was quite enjoyable. But I didn't really have the motivation to sort of keep playing it. But I might actually go back to it now because I've still got it and I do want to like sort of give it a proper go. Really.
Yeah. It's a solid 9 for me still.
Solid 9. Next, Caleb.
I would give. I beat it up to like I beat a couple bosses in it, and from what I remembered, I played this relatively. I played this years and years ago, so I'd probably give it a solid 8.
Awesome. And Xander.
I don't know. I actually haven't played it.
Don't worry. 10 out of 10 from Xander.
Homework for Xander.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the things with it. The one last thing I'll say with this game is, like, I know that it's not specifically, like, just Dreamcast only, but if you say Legacy of Kain, I think of the Dreamcast. I think the one thing that I'll say that even though I'm not, like, 100% behind this game is that I think that it was one of those games that, at least for me, I associated with the Dreamcast and vice versa. The Dreamcast was associated with Legacy of Kain. I don't know if that's not because there wasn't anything better than it on the system, or if it was sort of the best of a not awesome bunch.
Yeah, interestingly as well, leading on from that point, the sequel obviously was announced for the Dreamcast and was in production. A lot of the magazines carried stories and screenshots that the sequel was coming. And then, it was cancelled. It did come out on the PS2. Somewhere there might be a playable Dreamcast build, but it's not come to light yet.
Hopefully it's out there somewhere. Yeah,
it's a shame that never came.
And it's one of those series that I think does have a bit of a cult following, because when they stopped making them, people were still demanding them to sort of go back to it. There's still a following for this game. It definitely left a impression on quite a few people, because I have noticed there are people demanding that Eidos and Square Enix go back to this series at some point.
That would be really cool on the current gen, I think. A new Legacy, like a new Soul Reaver game would be fantastic on the new consoles.
It'd be great to see. Yeah, it'd be great to see that kind of atmosphere brought back.
Yeah, if you look at even what they were doing in Lords of Shadow, the graphics and art style in that, that's sort of very similar. Very trippy, very gothic, very bleak. And I agree. I think it would look really good on the next gen systems. Okay, gentlemen. We've been speaking for quite a long time, so unless there's anything else anyone wants to say...
just one more thing, folks. If you go on the Dreamcast page, you can still nominate us for the UK Podcast Awards. Please do, if you get a minute.
Yes, you can, yeah. Very well remembered. I'll put a link on the main site
link
as well.
on the page, yep, please do. Yep.
Yes, because we are indeed the greatest UK pod. And I'm like, I actually had a quick question. Why? I have to every week. I have to put up this. I have to talk like that, and it's not. I don't understand why I'm the one who has to talk like an American. we got another one. So what do I have to put on the accent every week?
Into Australia.
I had to bring this up.
We're just trying to make the numbers up. We're trying to tick some boxes here.
Okay. Well, okay. Oh, that's, I'm fine with it. I agreed to it. So, all right. Let me get back into the voice. All right. I like hamburgers. I'm from America. Okay, I'm back. I got the voice back. All right. It takes me a while to get into it.
One other thing before we sign off, I'd like to just give a shout out to another podcast, if I may. Podcast that I guested on last week, which is the Maximum Power Up podcast. There's two guys, Phil and Paul, who are ex-Retro Asylum guys. They started their own podcast, and I spoke about our impressions of E3 and stuff last week, and I'm doing quite well on the old iTunes charts. So give them a listen as well. That's Maximum Power Up.
But vote for us.
Yeah, vote for us. Don't vote for them.
Okay, that is it. That's it for the episode 9 of the most British gaming podcast there is. Okay, so
the most Dreamcast,
the most Dreamcast podcast as well. Okay,
apart from the SNES,
the only Dreamcast podcast.
Yeah, the only one. So
is it?
Oh. Yeah, we're the only
so
Dreamcast
we are
podcast
unique, folks.
So far,
or even if there are others, then we don't recognise them.
No.
No, we do. If there's any. Okay, so. This was episode 9 of the DreamPod. The DreamPod is available on the Dreamcast Junkyard. You can click on the podcast button on the top banner of the page. It's also available on iTunes, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, and YouTube. So if you've got any of those services, that's how you want to get your podcast delivered, then you can get them from there.
Yeah, and also give us a review. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah, the reviews really do help, actually. Specifically with the UK Podcast Awards coming up. So good 5-star reviews and nominations, please. Okay, so you can contact the Dreamcast Junkyard in a variety of ways. You can contact them via email. That's admin@thedreamcastjunkyard.co.uk. You can go to the Dreamcast Junkyard Facebook page, which is facebook.com/the Dreamcast Junkyard. You can contact us on Twitter. That's @Sega Junkyard. Or you can contact individual team members with their personal Twitter accounts. Tom, you're on Twitter at
Tom Lacey.
Aaron, you are on Twitter at
the Gaggerman.
Gaz, you are on Twitter at
Lost Ruin.
Caleb, we know you're on Twitter.
Yes, my Twitter handle is my first name and my last name, and my last name starts with an M.
And Xander, you're on Twitter as well.
At Random Xander MEE.
Is that it? Did I do Gaz? Gaz, you're on Twitter.
Yeah,
you did, Gaz. Yeah.
I did,
What
Gaz.
about you, Rob?
And I'm on Twitter.
You just wanted to do me twice.
I do you twice.
I'll reword that.
Yeah, I'm also on Twitter at rNicholasJ. That's at rNicholasJ. And with that, we're out. Gentlemen, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Stop this disc now.